what I'm trying to come to one point is that you all are learning here. Yes, you have a curriculum, you learn that. You study. You have to study in the day and night, you have to study during the term, during the off term, for the exam, for the term exam, for the year-end exam. You have to study. But that will never make you a perfect man unless you do, along with you study, you have to read. Read what? Read valuable books. Read about the world. Read about the human relationship. Read about the other people's dignity, how to respect them. There are lots of things to read. So now you have a certificate. So you become a lawyer, LLB or BSc or MBBS, and you don't know how to look at the neighbor and smile because you are you're a racist. Say that we have a lot of racists here in the country. A lot of people. Majority, 95% of our people are so good. They are so nice people, very good people with a very good understanding. But everywhere there are black sheep, of course. So there are few people are not that. But what happens is, very unfortunately, these few people, they project themselves, and the country is, the country is getting affected by that, and on a very bad image because of this misunderstanding and the ethnic violence and non-accommodating mindset. Why? Why can't we? I said that to start with. What we have to produce is a knowledge-based, open civilization. That civilization is accommodative of everything. Everybody have a different culture. Every family has their own culture. Forget about the ethnicities. So we have to be accommodated. Every person. Say if you have 5 people at home, all 5 people are different. Not everybody is thinking the same thing. Not everybody's mindset is the same. So what we have to develop is an open mind. Very accommodative. But that can come only with a knowledge-based civilization. So the education, purpose of the education is that. Right? Now for you all, so don't just because you get once you finish your degree, right, and just go and work in a place, no, that is not expected from the education. Of course you go and work in a place. So you have to parallelly, I'm telling you again and again, one point, I don't want to talk 100 things and you forget everything. Right? I'll talk only 1 or 2 things. One is I said that you always find out your why, right? And the other thing is you have to, while you study, you have to read. Because this studying will take you to one territory. Your reading will take you to another territory. If you don't know that territory, you are not educated, but you are somebody who has the certificate. There are people who have the PhD degree. There will be doctors with a PhD, but they don't know how to smile with their wife. I know there's somebody who has a PhD, is a professor, right? She's one lady, but she doesn't know how to run the family. She doesn't know how to look after the children, and how to communicate, what language you have to use. So this is civilization. In Quran, what we see, but although we have now about Islam, we don't know. We know that there is a lot of misconception about Islam. Lot of misconception. Even not only Islam, even about every religion. Take Buddhism. Do you think that the Buddhism that the Lord Buddha said is being practiced here? Definitely not. Now Buddhism has become a religion and political tool. But what Lord Buddha practiced said was not that. It's a philosophy, isn't it? It's a philosophy. There's a lot of things in that philosophy. He never asked people to worship him, did he? I don't know. As far as I studied, he never asked that. He never asked, based on Buddhism, you have to divide people. He never asked that. He never said that this is a religion, you have to separate this is for you, this religion for you, that religion for you, this religion. No. That's a philosophy. There are lots of good things in that philosophy. There are lots of things to learn. So this is what I'm saying. It's an open civilization. So this mindset, we need to develop that. So similarly in Islam, what we see, people think that you wear some kind of dress and you wear this your outward appearance is Islam. Very unfortunately, I tell you, for the Muslim community, we have நாங்க இஸ்லாத்தை அடையாளங்களால தான் அறிமுகப்படுத்தியிருக்கிறோம், இஸ்லாத்தை கொள்கையால அல்ல. இல்லையா? இஸ்லாத்தை எப்படி அறிமுகப்படுத்திக்கிறோம்? அடையாளங்களால். தாடி வச்சா, ஜிப்பாவை போட்டுக்கொண்டா, தலையை ஒரு அபாயம் தூக்கி போட்டார், நாங்கள் முஸ்லீம். அல்லது மற்றவங்களுக்கு others, how do they know about the Muslim community? நல்லா வட்டலாப்பம் செய்ய தெரிஞ்சா, எங்கேயாவது யாராவது ஒரு மற்றவங்க வந்தவங்கள்ட்ட வேற நான் கேட்டீங்களா? வட்டலாப்பம் தான் கேட்குறேன். பட் நாங்கள் வட்டலாப்பம் சமைச்சு கொடுக்க வந்த ஆக்கள் இல்லை. There is a mission. There is something in that. In this there is something. It's a knowledge-based civilization. We have to tell this knowledge-based civilization for everyone to live within a civilized world. It's a knowledge-based civilization. You see, now I will tell you one thing. You know, this நாங்க இப்ப தமிழ்ல பேசுறோம், சிங்களத்துல பேசுறோம். I need to tell this. You all have to think and tell this. தமிழ்ல பேசுறோம். We speak in Tamil, we speak Sinhala, we speak English, a lot of language we speak. Very unfortunately, our community in Sri Lanka is divided with this language. For the Tamils, they hate Sinhalese language. Sinhalese, they don't like the Tamil language. The Muslims, of course, we don't have much of a problem with the language, but we have the other problems, right? We don't know what we are up to, and we are not educated. Although this is a knowledge-based civilization, although we were the pioneers in 800 years in Europe, those days, but it's all gone now. That's the past. So now what has happened is a society is dividing on the lines of language, right? I'm going to give you one thing. You know what is the concept of language in Islam? This is very, very important, right? We have to listen very carefully. Islam enna solludu language about? Can we divide? Now say, the Tamils will say, no, we hate Sinhalese language. We don't want to. In the bus, it should be only in Tamil. If you go to Jaffna, it should be only in Tamil. Or if you go to Matara, no, you should not have the Tamil language. It should be only in Sinhala. So, this is, some people are fighting. We have fought a war for 30 years and still fighting a different kind of war. For what? For this language. So, if you are an educated person, how should we look at this language? You know how we should look at this language? I will tell you, I will just give you one Quranic verse that tells you how you should look at this language. Okay? Yeah. That will tell you how you should look at this language. This is written in chapter 30, Surah Al-Rum, verse 22. Okay. Now this is very, very important, right? Listen carefully. Today, what I'm trying to say is a very important point. What should be the Muslims or the Quranic view or the human view of the languages? Can we hate language? Can we dislike a language? Can you fight a war for the language? Can you divide people based on language? The answer is very clear, no. That's what the Quran says. It says this. So if we don't understand this, what is the point of we having an education here? If this education is making us to fight for these silly things like language, what is the point of education? This is why I'm again asking you, always ask the question, why? Why you are educated? So let's see the Quranic view or the Quranic philosophy of looking at these languages. Right? The Quran says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ. It says, this is a miraculous sign. It's an ayah. What is an ayah? So what is being said now is going to be said. This is an ayah. When you say ayah, what is that? It's a sign. It's a miracle. It's not just a sign, it's a miracle. It's a miraculous sign. What is miraculous sign? So when the Quran says the word ayah, what is expected is you have to get the knowledge about that, you think about that, you have a deeper understanding about that, and you ponder on that, and then you remember the God who created you and become God conscious. The whole sixth process should go when you feel when the word ayah comes in. What are the 6 words? 6 things. You should have the knowledge about that. You should think about that. You should have a deep understanding about that. You ponder on that, and with that you remember God who created you and become God conscious. Right? So that is what expected when you say ayah. So Allah, the Quran says here, so وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ. This is from an ayah. This is an ayah. This is a miraculous thing. This is something you have to study. This is something you have to think. This is something you have to deeply understand. This is something you have to you should ponder upon. What? وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. The creation of the universe, the stars, the galaxies, the billions of galaxies, the beautiful design out there. Somebody has done it. It's the power that created it. It didn't just come. Nothing will just come. There's a power behind that. That is the power that we call God. So, in that, خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. In the creation of this universe, the galaxies, all these planets, and everything up, and the earth, وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْبَانِكُمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِلْعَالِمِينَ. It says, in the difference of languages that you speak, the different languages that you speak, and the different color you have, right? It can be white, black, brown. Inna fi dhalika laayatin lil alamin. Says, in this, for those who are alimin, for those the knowledgeable people have the ayah, the miraculous sign. So all ayah should lead to God consciousness. That is what the ayah is expected from ayah. So now we'll come back to this verse. It's very profound ayah, very profound philosophy. I think if we understand this, and if we can tell this to our community, our society, our country, this war wouldn't have happened. If we can understand this, there wouldn't be any fight between communities. We wouldn't have waged a 30-year brutal war, and we will live a life, a very peaceful life in this world, with accommodating everyone, accepting every culture, accepting every language. If we understand this, because the Quran says, it's an ayah, there's a sign for those who are knowledgeable, al-alimin. Let me come to the science of this language. Not science. Science is S-I-G-N-S, science. I'm talking about the science. Vinyana. The science of the language. Okay, so now just think about this. This is what you have to think. So what Quran says is, there are hundreds of languages. If you find these languages, it's really a miracle. Say now, a 2-year-old child will speak very fluently the language that is spoken at home. Right? How come it is possible? How are we speaking this language? And I speak, you all hear. How this language is converted now, it is coming from the mouth, and it's the sound waves coming through the environment that reaches your ear, and there's a vibration takes place, and then it's conducted through the bones, and it goes to the brain, and then it is converted. Have you ever thought about that? Now I'm speaking, you are listening. But there is nothing between me and you. Have you ever thought about that? You have to think. Right? I'm not talking about that. That is one aspect of language. Before that, we come to the origin of language. Now, say are we speaking in English now? So this language is English. Okay? Let's go to the origin of this, right? Now, how am I talking? I'm getting an airflow from my lungs. Okay? I'm getting an airflow. So the airflow comes because while I am speaking, I can't do anything else. I have to speak. That means that moment, the only thing the body does is, with regards to language, the lungs is sending an airflow. So up to your vocal cord here, throat, larynx, up to your larynx, it is what? Airflow. Just an airflow. So what happens in the larynx? In the larynx here, in the voice box we call it, larynx, the throat, there's something called vocal cord. It's like this. It's called vocal cord. It's a very important thing because we always see the vocal cord. In my practice, if I see vocal cord, I'm so happy because I put a lot of tubes, to the lungs. I'm working in an intensive care unit, ICU, children ICU after a heart surgery. So I'm in charge of a place where I'm in central London, where all these, after a heart surgery, we look after the children. I'm ICU in charge. So in the ICU, what we do is we put the tube to the lungs to connect to the machine, breathing machine. So to put the TV is not an easy thing. It's you need a lot of skills to do that. But the most important thing is to see the vocal cord. If you see the vocal cord, then you are so happy because you can put it. If you don't see it, then it's a trouble. Sometimes you won't see it clearly. Anyway, so that's by the way. So when you speak, the airflow comes up to the throat. Whatever the language you speak, it is all airflow. Say now I'm speaking in English, it's the airflow that comes to the larynx, and I speak English. இப்போ நான் தமிழில் பேசுகிறேன்னு சொன்னால் அது தமிழில் பேசுகிறதுக்கும் என்ன வருது அதே ஏர்ஃப்ளோ தான் நம்ம சிங்களம் கத்தாக்காரனா சிங்களம் கத்தாக்காரன்னா ஏர்ஃப்ளோக்கு தான். So what I'm trying to say is the same airflow comes up to this. Whether it's converted to English, Sinhala, Tamil, Arabic, or Chinese, whatever the language, there are about more than 7,500 languages. All these languages all have the common origin. It's all airflow in the human. Then it comes to the larynx. There is a vocal cord is moving like that. So the airflow is converted to sound wave. It's converted to sound. So the sound comes from here. It's not airflow anymore, it's the sound. So that comes to your mouth. Then the mouth is the word factory. Allah says, Quran says in another place, وَجَعَلْنَا وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ وَجَعَلْنَاهُ what that? وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ I mundiya word عَيْنَيْن what that? أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْن وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ. Allah is asking us to think that you have got two lips and a tongue and eyes or think. So what happens with this? What is there to think? What happens with this mouth? It's a word factory. It produces words using the lips and the tongue. And of course, for the tongue to move around and the lips for the tongues to move around, you have this saliva. If you don't have saliva, you can't speak. You know that. So it's a word, mouth is a word factory. So this word factory can produce words at any time, any language. So there's a miraculous design behind this. What Allah is asking is for the alimin, for those knowledgeable people, this miraculous design is there. You think about that, and when you hear different languages, you think about that and you become God conscious, not racist. So different languages there for you to become racist? No. That is the racist mindset. That is the racist philosophy. That is the idiotic philosophy. That is the foolish people do that. That is the ignorant, stupid people think like that. But what Quran says is that there is a big design behind this, miraculous design behind this. There is a science behind this. For those who think, for those who knowledgeable will understand this. So you study about that, you think about that, you have a deeper understanding, you ponder on this, and you remember God and become God conscious. So if I see two different languages speaking, people are speaking, I won't get racist thought. I won't say this language. What is this nonsense? No, I become God conscious. You get into a bus. Some people speak Sinhala, some people speak Tamil, some people speak English. The moment you get into the bus and see these three different people, three different languages, that will, if you are a real Muslim, that will not make you uncomfortable. That will make that that is the situation where you increase, you boost your iman and become God conscious. That's what it says. You have to get the education to understand these little things, not to get a certificate and get a job and fight for 30 years, 40 years, 100 years for racism. If we are doing that, the education that we get is no point at all. It's just a certificate. It's not even valid for the paper that it is written on. So I think I'm going to leave you with that thought. And so I need to go by 12 o'clock. Now it's 11:30. So if you have any questions, you can ask. But I don't want to tell you a lot of things and bombard you. But whatever I said, just food for your thought this morning. And think about that. And think, and find your why. Until you find your why, don't stop thinking. Okay. Right. Any question? Yes.
So recently what we've been seeing in the, let's say the doctors or the custom protests that have been happening, it's learned people who are actually putting people who are less learned into a convenience, right? So where has it gone wrong? So they are learned people, they have gone through the education system and they have some form of knowledge, but where has it gone wrong for them to actually put other people at risk in their own gain?
What type of risk do you think?
So the doctors,
Give an example.
So recently the doctors have been striking like for small petty reasons for their own gain. So but overall the greater service that they should give
Yes.
to people, but makes them
Think this way. It's a very good question. Right.
can
was-
be avoid
Yeah. Of course. Again, it's education failure. That's what I'm trying to say now. Now we are getting certificates. The universities are issuing certificates. They are not producing human. Okay. We are producing machines. Right? That is why you fight. You find people fighting. The doctors striking. I can't believe. Thank God, I have never, although I was once I was a member of the GMOA, of course, and I was in a committee, right? But I was in a committee to fight for the rights of the doctors, not to strike. But whenever it comes to strike, I am out of it. Anyway, I'm not there anymore. But when it comes to strike, I don't believe that we can strike. I don't think that a doctor can strike, right? Because that is beyond, how can they do that? But they should find out another way of fighting. We all have to fight for the rights, because as long as the politicians are uneducated, thugs and murderers and kudu business people, they are the people that are in the parliament. So when that happens, they are not bothered about anything. They are not bothered about your rights. Right? They are not bothered about anyone's right. They don't bother about the profession. They don't bother about the civilization. We are talking about a knowledge-based civilization. So that civilization should come from the top. But unfortunately, in our country, that's civilized. They are not civilized people. Do you see that what's happening in the parliament last few months ago? Is it the civilized behavior? They are, thugs to the power of 10. Right? That's what we see. It's shame. In fact, when that happened, I was in London. I was in my hospital. Right? I was in my hospital. One of the English nursing sister in our PIC, in our intensive care, the nurse in charge was an English lady. She was asking me, because they called me Musthafa there, they said, Musthafa, what is happening in your country? Oh, these people, they are like, like the street thugs, they are fighting in the parliament. I was ashamed of this. to claim myself as a Sri Lankan. So where is the problem? This is the problem in the system. This would be the education system as a problem. Right? We are only certificate-oriented system. We don't have the offline education system. What does I mean by offline education system? You need to have every month talks, every day, discussions. Online, when I say it's online, it's not that online education. When I say offline means that's what everything that you learn offline, I call it that you read to learn that offline thing. You study to get your degree. So unless we develop this culture of reading while you are studying, and the system should give to think, to produce people who are a rounded individual. We are not a rounded individual. That's the problem. We have the degree, but we don't know how to be nice with the person next to you, how to be nice with the person seated next to you in the bus, how to be nice with the person, the neighbor. We don't have that. The Quran talks about ihsan. What is ihsan? Doing the best. I remember, the Quran talks about the ihsan. That means you have to be the best. You have to be the best. Best in your language, best in your communication, best in your everything, your behavior. Have you heard about Martin Luther King? Martin Luther King? Who is Martin Luther King? Come on, guys, you all have your general knowledge is extremely good. Huh? Who is Martin Luther King? Who knows Martin Luther King? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, there's people know. Okay, tell me, who is Martin Luther King? Former president? No. Nowhere near. He was a priest, but he didn't write the Bible. He was a priest. Okay, more than that, yes, he was a priest. He is from which country? You don't know. Okay. Anyone knows about Martin Luther King? Is it white or black? Huh? Is it black? Okay, I'll tell you without wasting time, right? So Martin Luther King he was a civil rights activist. He was in USA. He was a black civil rights activist. In America, although now America is giving lectures to all the countries about human rights and democracy and human rights, they are now like a moral police for the world, but they were the most immoral up until Martin Luther King came to the scene. In 1960, in America, blacks have no voting right. You know that? Just because you are black, you have no voting right because you are black. What is this? Now the ayah I talked about in the Quran, it talks about two things. One is the language, other one is the color. I talked about the science of the language, but I didn't talk about the science of the color because it's a different lecture. If you talk about the science of the color again, in what is the concept of Muslim, the Quran, the Creator who created us asks us to look at in a different way these colors and the language. Even the color is the same. The skin color, the melanocytes are the same number of melanocytes. What happened? Very simple. In black it produces more melanocytes. In brown, in white it produces less melanocytes, melanin, but the melanocyte numbers are the same. But in a brown it produces a moderate amount of melanin. So if you see two different colors, you need to see, wow, what a beautiful, wonderful design. There's an ayah. It says an ayah. So you ayah, get the knowledge, think, deep understanding, ponder, become God conscious, remember God and become God conscious. Right? That's what it says. But although this says that, but what happened in America was black, white is they are racist. So they didn't give voting rights. The whites didn't give voting rights to the blacks up until 1960s, 67 or something. No voting rights. And if you get into a bus, if there are white people, you can't sit there. The hotel, the whites have several separate seating arrangements, the blacks can't go in. There are exclusive white areas, the white hotels. This is America. This was America. Not that far. This was in 1960s I'm talking about. But remember, in Hajjatul Wida, 1430 years ago, Prophet Muhammad declared, saying what? Blacks, whites are the same right. There's no difference. What are the men, women, male, female, equal rights. We have a different responsibility, but the rights are the same. White, black, equal rights. Whatever the color, he said, he was Arab, and he said, Arab is not superior to a non-Arab, and non-Arab is not superior to an Arab. He said, white is not superior to a black, black is not superior to white. These were the universal human rights declaration done just before the Prophet Muhammad's death in 1430 years ago. But America gave that right only in 1967. They didn't give the right. Martin Luther King grabbed it. He fought to get it. How did he get that? In 1960, not exactly the date, I think 65 August or something. He was fighting for the rights. And in Washington, he gathered 200,000 people, more than 200,000 people. They were fighting. The people's power was gathered. John F. Kennedy was the president at that time. He was watching it from White House. And he saw the crowd. Then he realized that this people's power cannot be stopped anymore. They will now come straight to the White House. And there's no way, unless either he has to give or he will be chased out. The 200,000 people will enter into the White House. At that point, he called Martin Luther King and said, okay, we'll give you the voting right. This is how the democratic America, the moral police America, gave human rights to black people. Okay. So this man was the leader. Martin Luther King. Read about him. You have to read about these people. Martin Luther King, and Nelson Mandela. These are the people who worked, who sacrificed their life for the justice, for the rights. And he once, in a speech, he said, that you have to do everything in a very very ihsan means in a very professional way. And if you are dressing, if you are doing anything, do it in a very professional way. That's what we call it ihsan, that talks about here. And he said, once he was speaking, he's saying, if you are a street sweeper, you are road to kutra. So your job is just to street sweeper. He said, he was motivating the people. He said, even if you are a street sweeper, sweep street like Michelangelo painted pictures. Right? Don't do a dodgy, second-class job. Even if you are a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures, like Shakespeare composed his poetry. should be so classy. That's how you have to road kutana. Then he said that somebody who walks on the road should stop and tell that, wow, someone, a great street sweeper has done a great job. So similarly, right? So we have to achieve the ihsan. You have to do the best. That's what it says here. Right? You have to do your best. You have to do your best. So the best of education is not getting the certificate. To understand, you read more, get skills, learn how to talk to people. So I'll just give you one civilization, the Quran, that talks about knowledge-based civilization. It talks about the communication skills. I can collect more than 30 ayah about the communication skills, how we should communicate with others. You know how we should communicate with your dead enemy? According to this Quran, when you communicate to an enemy number one, you can have an enemy number one, right? Sometimes you can have enemies. But even if you are talking to an enemy, because he's an enemy because he's not agreeing with you, he's not agreeing with your principles. Okay, fine. So it doesn't mean that he's not. You can accommodate. You don't have to accept the views. I'm not accepting the views of say some racist. I don't accept them. But that doesn't mean I don't respect them. As a human, every human needs respect. Right? وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah says in the Quran. Every human needs to be respected. So you can't undervalue a human. Even though that human is causing a lot of problems and you are disagreeing with that human. Even though you are disagreeing, you have to respect, because that is the basic order. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Because every human is a dignified creation according to the Quran. Right? So we have to give that respect. Now, Quran says, they say, when the Musa alayhi salam was facing that enemy at that time, Pharaoh. You know what Quran says? Okay, you go and talk to him, because the fellow is a bit too much, like our politicians, going transgressing and all that. But then there was a condition given. Okay, you go and talk to him, but the language you have to speak, you have to be very careful, don't hurt his heart. Right? وَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Quran says, you speak to them with a language that is very sweet, beautiful language. With whom you should speak this beautiful language? With your enemy. وَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Very beautiful, very sweet language you have to speak with your enemy. It's not just coming to the mic and spreading the poison to hurt the hearts of people. There are people doing this. In a wholesale level, there are people doing it. There are people doing it at home, in an individual level. But what this civilization says to you and me is that you have to be a knowledge-based person, and you should be living in a civilization that accommodates everyone, and that civilization is the highest levels of your morals. And just one example is, if you are speaking to your most first-class gold medal enemy, وَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. With that enemy, you have to you select the words that are sweet, that are so nice, it doesn't hurt his heart. This is civilization. This is the civilization that we need to protect. I think it's time up. We've got another 2 minutes, 3 minutes more for me to finish. Any other questions? No question? Yeah? No? Okay, I think it's, yeah. So anyway, we had to finish by 12. Now it is 11:55 almost. So thank you very much for your invitation and for me, for giving me an audience to talk. It is always says when I talk, before you listen, I listen. So that makes me, every time I talk, it gives me some feelings and it makes me a better person. So whenever that opportunity is given to me, I always value that. Thank you very much for it.